Yeah, that's pretty bad. Okay. Another thing on the list. So I pulled my top loader out. I was getting a lot of leaks out of the tail shaft, and I guess on the previous video this thing was pretty loose, so my bushing must be really worn in there. So I ordered a new one. The shifter looks pretty decent. Rods don't look mangled or anything. I thought I had a little problem here. This thing was pretty loose. I thought maybe my detent was worn out, but turns out this whole thing is loose. It's not even tight. So, however, it is moving a lot on the shaft. So I don't know, maybe if I can peen that down, take up some of that gap. I don't know. Maybe if I just tighten it down, it'll be fine. But also had a lot of oil along here. And I took off the bell housing, so obviously something's leaking out around there. And there's some goop stuck in here, so I guess they tried to RTV it along here and RTV the lid on. All bad stuff, trying to fix a leak problem. So I have the gaskets and a bushing. Hopefully that's not too hard to get that in and out of there. So I've never done that before. We'll see. Also, if you look in there, it's not adjusted very well because my alignment holes don't line up very well. And my mount is, I don't know how stiff this rubber is supposed to be, but you can see the cracks in the rubber there. It's not, this thing's in pretty bad shape, so I ordered a new one of those. Anyway, thought I had a pretty good black paint job on it, but it turns out it was just a lot of oil and dirt on there. It's just all the black paint's coming off. So, not gonna be a fun job. Never taken apart the transmission. So I'm gonna take the shifter off, take the tail shaft off here, so I can knock that bushing out, reseal it with the gasket. You're not supposed to use sealer on there, you're just supposed to clean it off. Hopefully there's no sealant that RTV inside the transmission. And new gasket for here, plus a new seal somewhere in here. I don't know where that goes. Here's the main gearbox, C5AR 7006D. So here's my tail shaft casting number, C4ZR 78040. So looking inside my top loader, again, this is a 1965 Mustang close ratio. Everything looked pretty good in here. The gears, the synchros, everything looks in really good shape. There is some like wear on the face, but the edges I don't see any chipped gears or anything, and I can't see the gears underneath, but everything looks really good. I did run into a very major problem though. Right there. Look at that. There's a crack in this case, and in fact it keeps going down. This was all covered over with just this black grease, and it was RTV'd. I mean, it looks like they had ground it out, I guess for the RTV to fit in. Maybe they were thinking of welding it and they didn't. I don't know, but this thing is pretty major. You can see it goes down all the way down to, it seems to stop right here when it gets to this flange. But this thing's about 6 inches long. Let me grab something here. And it definitely goes through, because if I tap like here, tap nice and solid, that's very hollow sounding. So definitely not, there's no connection going in there. I mean, you can see the discoloration right there. I guess that's where, I don't know, moisture was coming in maybe, but yeah, you can see it. Let me zoom in a little bit here. Yep, there's the crack on the inside. So, I'm in a pickle. So, the internals look so good. I'm not going to just trash this. So I ordered a replacement case. It's the replacement cases are aluminum. Be a little lighter. Hoping it's just as strong. It's definitely going to be stronger than this case. This is totally not unexpected. I was not expecting that crack there. And I've never taken apart a manual transmission before. So, fun. Fun. Guess this is called the bearing retainer. The front bearing retainer. Here's my new bearing. I made sure it's the right size on there. And what I did to get this out, you can't just drive in from the top because there wasn't anything to grab, so I just drove a screwdriver in there to get a little gap in there, and then you can just walk your way around and just pry it out. There we go. And this should just pop right in there like that. So I'm going to put a very thin coat of sealant on there. I think the paint is supposed to seal it, but I bought this anaerobic sealer. It's supposed to work good in this kind of cases. So I'm going to put some of that on there when I drop it in. And try cleaning up the outside a little bit, the shaft. It's okay. It's got some gouges in it, but they don't stand up. I ran a file across there and I didn't catch anything. So it does have some wear on it, but I don't know how crucial that is. The bearing just slides over like this. It's not a tight fit. There's a little bit of slop in there. So, all right, I'm waiting for my replacement case to come in. It's supposed to be in tomorrow, so I don't want to take too much apart yet. I did pull off the tail shaft. It was leaking all the way around the bottom here. This gasket was just totally saturated, and it's like came off in pieces, just fell apart. So there's a lot of silicone in the holes, just trying to fix it. That whoever done that, but wasn't working. Anyway, this is an early style 65 tail housing. They use an inline bolt pattern for the mount, transmission mount, because I think it actually goes this way, upside down like that. But this mount, this is a factory style mount. Just uses the center two holes and not the outer two. These are for later style transmission tail housings. I really wanted a polyurethane mount, but you can't get a polyurethane mount that uses the center two holes. They all just use the outer two. So with this early tail housing, you're stuck with a factory mount. Hopefully it's going to be strong enough. Let's see. So I got the speedometer gear off, this snap ring. Hard to get off, even with these big ass pliers. But it just wants to like twist the snap ring. It doesn't want to open straight. So it'll be easier getting it on because I can push on it as I'm spreading it. But that just comes off, and speedometer gear just has a little ball bearing in there. You can't get it out, just falls right out. So, and then let's get that off. The bearing retainer on the front, it's stuck onto the bearing, and I didn't want to pull it out too far. I know it won't come all the way out because you have to drop the, I guess it's the idler gears on the bottom, but I did want it to fall out and have the needle bearings fall out, because then it won't rotate at all without tearing stuff up. So I just stuck a little wrench on here, and then I can just tap that in. And now it's off. So. Okay, I've got my replacement top loader case in. Looks pretty much just like the cast iron one. Major differences. This flange is about twice as thick, you can see. Just give you a gauge on my flashlight there. Here's the other one. So it's a lot thicker there. Of course, it's aluminum. The only other difference I can really tell on the outside is it's got this indent right here where I guess that's for the reverse gear shaft goes. So I don't know if that makes a difference or not. It's very, very nicely machined. Looks pretty nice. Wasn't cheap, so better be nice. Anyway, I didn't want to take this apart until I had the new case in, so at least I can tell it looks the same anyway. So I've taken off the tail shaft, I've taken off the front bearing retainer, and first step is to drop down that countershaft gear in the back on the bottom there. I don't know if you can see it very well. It's got 4 gears on it. It's a shaft that's as long as the transmission is. There's the countershaft running through it right there. I've already loosened it up. And that comes out the rear right there. So I'm guessing it's got a tapered fit on one end so that it wedges in there. Doesn't go in too far. And you can see it's got a pin on the end. You'll probably see it when you get it out. It's got a pin to keep it from rotating, and I guess going in too far. So let me see if I can get that out. Okay, I got loose on the inside. I'm gonna use a metal hook here to try to support it as I pull this shaft out so that it doesn't drop down crooked. I don't want all the weight supported by 1/2 of the needle bearings, one end of it. All right, I've got that hooked on there. Let's see if I can pull this out. And of course not. Let's see if I can push it some more. Nope, I need something to tap it. Okay, if I put just enough tension, lifting up on the gear, I can get any tension off of this bearing. I mean, off of the shaft itself. It's very heavy. There it goes. It's out. All right. I've got it in 3rd gear. This is the 3/4 shift arm. So pull it back, 3rd gear. That's so you can reach this set screw down here. Take that out. This is holding on the shift fork. Then I gotta take this screw out here, pull out the spring and the detent, and pull this bolt out here, and there's another spring and a detent. And then somehow I gotta knock this rail here. What's that called? I'm looking at my cheat sheet here. Tap on the inner end of the shift rail fork to unseal the expansion plug. So, heard it says, bro? Tap on the inner end of the shift rail. Okay. So somehow I got to tap on that shift rail, and it's going to knock out this little plug right here. We'll see. Okay. I can't get the detents out of there. I got the springs out. I'll just have to grab them later. They look like to be little ball bearings or something down there. So, but I got the set screw out right here. So looks like it had a little bit of Loctite on there, but it wasn't very much, and it wasn't not really tight at all. So anyway, that goes, let's see if I can get my light. That goes down there in that little, like a detent or a hole inside that shaft. So what I did was just I used a drift with a point on it so that I wouldn't gouge out the rest, and set that in there like that, and just tapped on it very lightly, and it started pushing out this little seal in the front. So that was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. Okay, I got the plug out of that shift rail. Just kind of looks like a smushed up dime. I guess it's just a press fit in there. I guess you can seal it somehow. And then the 3/4 shift rail. Gotta be real, there's where the set screw went in right there. Gotta be real careful, there's a little pin in here. Where's my focus going? There's a little pin right there. Some kind of interlock pin. Don't want to lose that because that looks pretty important. Alright, I got the 1/2 shift rail out. It's got a couple of detents on there. I'm thinking I'm missing one more detent that probably fell down inside the case. So hopefully I can find that later. The manual says I need to take the snap ring off and then use a puller, some kind of bearing puller to pull this off. Big, huge contraption. I don't have anything like that, so I noticed that this front bearing is kind of loose. I'm going to try pulling it out the front, and then maybe I can take this snap ring off here and slide this bearing in just enough to get the fork rails loose. Here, they hit the case right here, so I can't get those out of the way. Maybe I can tip it up enough to get it in and slide it out. I'm not really sure how far it goes over, but all I can do is try it. Let's pull this out. I got a feeling when I pull this out, I'm going to start losing some parts. I got to imagine there's a bunch of needle bearings. Yep, there we go. You can see them right on the top, right there. See them? The needle bearings. And there's a synchro gear cut off. So here's my input shaft. See if I can grab that synchro ring out of there. Let it falling. There we go. All right. So the needle bearings. I got 2 of them. Just throw them in here for now. Rest over on the bottom somewhere. So let me see if I can move this thing forward. So I might need to get this ring off here somehow. Okay, I took the front snap ring off and then just pushed the bearing in. And it slid in really easy. And now I can get my shift forks out of there. So can't tell if it's got abnormal wear or not. There might be some kind of measurement you can do, but I'm just going to put them back. Right now, I'm just doing as cheap a rebuild as I can. I need the case for sure. So there's one shift rail. Let's get this all out here. This is a 3/4 shifter. C4 AR. So it's not an aftermarket shifter or rail. And now I'm going to see if I can tip this thing up out of here. I don't think it's going to work, but let's give it a shot. All we can do is try. Okay, my idea of pushing it in and then tilting it didn't work because the shaft is too long. The synchronizer was hitting, but I was thinking maybe I could take the synchronizer off, but then the shaft itself was hitting here. It was just too long. So I took off the small snap ring on the tail shaft, and I'm just tapping it with my dead blow, and it's going through. If I end up ruining the bearing, I'll just get a replacement bearing. But so far it seems to be going. I'm just hitting it with this little teeny dead blow hammer. So it's working so far. So once I get this bearing off, then I should be able to tilt it up and pull it out of there. Okay, I got the bearing off. It seems still pretty tight. I don't feel any play in it. I don't feel any like grinding or anything. And I'm able to tilt it up, so I can tilt that shaft up and then pull it out of there. So far so good. All right, so there it is. Main shaft, I don't know what you call it. This is the countershaft. There's two different size needle bearings. These long, thin ones go in there. You can see they're all on the bottom. So I got the short, fat ones. Short, fat ones go on the main shaft, and the longer, thin ones go on the countershaft. And right here, focus on there. There's my other detent that I couldn't find. So looks like to get this thing out, I just got to knock this pin out, this shaft out. Just comes right out the back, and then get the reverse shifter off there, shift lever. So pretty trivial at this point. All right. So I had to use my torch to heat up this one little set screw down in there. It was pretty stuck. So while that's cooling off, I'll just go over what else I'm looking at here. So this reverse gear, it's got a detent in there, and that detent is hidden under there. So it's going to be kind of tricky. There's a detent under there with a spring. And so to pull it out, you just have to turn it sideways to get past the notch. But getting it in, it seems kind of tricky, so I have to look out for that. But let's see if I can zoom in on that reverse gear. Reverse gear doesn't look too bad. It's got a couple little nicks at it right there. There's a little nick. There's a little chip. I mean, it's not bad. I'm not going to worry about replacing it right now, so I'll probably run into other problems if I start putting other new parts in here. So here's these little thrush washers, or I guess they call them, that go on the end. And you can see down in there where it fits in these little notches. So on the new case, there's little notches everywhere. And so far so good. All right, I'm looking through the front end of the transmission there. You get a pretty good shot of that last little detent. Should be right in the center. So that's going to be a real pain getting that back in. I'll have to figure that one out somehow. Be nice if the end of the shaft had a taper on it, so you would help push it down, but it's pretty square cut. So here's all my shafts here. There's reverse shaft. So you see there's a little teeny bevel on the end, not much. So anyway, I'm just gonna knock this countershaft out there and get out that reverse gear. And then I'll just start putting it right back in the other one. I'm gonna try to do it in reverse order so that I don't lose anything and get anything screwed up. So, okay, I tapped the countershaft out, whatever it's called, for the reverse gear. Just real easy to get it out. So I'm gonna lift this out. Hopefully, yeah, it's got needle bearings in the end too, so I'm not gonna fool around with this too much. Yep, they're falling out. So it looks like they're out of place in there. So I'm going to have to pull them all out and pack them in with some grease. So just set that down nice and easy right now so I don't lose anything in there.